Ah, yes. For the media, the only story of the month of May, Danica Patrick. She was above the fold. Where's my newspaper? Above the fold in 3 different sections of one edition of USA Today over the holidays, and that includes the big racing supplement. That may be a record. I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that the Indy 500 TV ratings probably ticked upward on the strength of the Danica hype, and not for the simple reason that the 89th Indy 500 was actually a pretty good race. Let's check out the highlights. Pole sitter Tony Kanaan, Penske man Sam Hornish, and Kanaan's teammate Dario Franchitti, the class of the field for most of the day, and as Hobbs noticed, mixed it up pretty big time. Best I thought was this: Hornish passing Kanaan and Franchitti both in a single swoop, identifying him as one of the guys to beat. Kenny Brack back in an Indy car, out early, suspension problems. And now Sebastian Bourdais on the bottom, Sam Hornish on the outside. There is a champ car versus IRL who hit who debate, don't you think? Now the Danica story. Stalls in the pits. Rookie mistake. But then Koski Matsuura and Danica collide, and she keeps her foot in it. Forget rookie. Nice piece of driving. And then another rookie mistake. Lights up the tires under yellow, takes out Tomas Schechter and others. They fix her car. She stayed on the lead lap, stayed out when the leaders pitted to get the lead. That's easy, but then on a restart, drove past the eventual winner to take the lead for real. And yes, that is an accomplishment. But at the end of the day, Wheldon was simply the best driver in the best car. When it was time to win the race, he drove past her. Eventually, 2 more did the same. And so it is the personable Englishman who takes the traditional gulp, Dan Wheldon, Indy 500 champion. Amid a hurricane of hyperbole, it's kind of hard to maintain your perspective. Am I right? Was this a pretty good race?
I thought it was a very good race, and I thought Danica actually drove a very, very good race. She was a bit lucky, like you've got to be if you want to be good in this world. She had that spin on a restart, and of course took out 2 good runners.
Well,
but she got the nose fixed. She got back in, as you say. She stayed on the lead lap. She had that stalling issue. She stayed on the lead lap. But while she was out there, I mean, that run-in was, I mean, her little dainty foot didn't lift one bit. So I thought she drove very, very well, and it will be good for racing. I mean, NASCAR, over the last 20 years, has had all the marketing, all the hyperbole, all the word you used earlier on. And I think it's going to be a shot in the arm for IRL because she really can do it.
There is, however, a predictable reaction to the Danica fuss. Might we call it the Danica backlash? How about the email? Dave, can't wait for the post-race media tour for the rookie sensation with the face of a prom queen, the handshake of a steel worker, and the undeserved hype of an American Idol winner. Even though she has won nothing and can be classified as just another Indy rookie, making classic Indy rookie mistakes. At least her soccer mom following can go back about their regular pre-Indy lives, says David in Miami. Well, David, to me, the hyperbolic high point was when she stayed out when everybody else pitted and was compared on television to Amelia Earhart and Sally Ride. That says a lot, but give her credit. I mean, the first thing she talked about in her interview was her rookie mistake. She said, yeah, I did it. And she attracted some new interest, soccer mom interest. Well, okay, God knows the IRL needs it. My question to you, David, staying power. Can she win, become a legitimate star based on her driving ability, develop a fan following, and then sustain that long enough to help give the IRL some traction?
Well, if she continues to drive like she did today, I think she can. She really did drive very, very well today, and I would say that driving like she did today, with just a little bit more luck, she could win some races. Don't forget, towards the end there, when she was leading, she had missed that last pit stop. They rolled the dice. The Rahal team rolled the dice, and she was definitely low on fuel, so she had to lean it off. So she was giving a good bit less power than those other guys for those last few laps. So I think all in all, I thought she drove an incredible race.
If I were Dan Wheldon, I think I would be feeling as if perhaps my accomplishments, my achievement, my drive, my month of May had been overshadowed, maybe, by Ms. Patrick. But we'll have the opportunity to ask old Dan Wheldon that, because just like he predicted last time he was here, he's back. There's Wheldon with a smile on his face. A little bit of, what is that? Is that Jim Beam and milk on his lip? We'll talk to him when we come back. It is indeed an historic place to win. Last time here, and he's been here a lot, having won now 4 of the last 5 IRL races. Dan Wheldon said he was eager for the taste of Jim Beam and milk. Today, he earned the opportunity. He won the Indy 500. We welcome him live to the show. Nice to have you back. Congratulations from me and from your countryman, David Hobbs, who's sitting alongside.
Dan, last year, you and I had dinner with Bob and Matt Varsha at that restaurant that you had booked the table for downtown.
Yep.
And at the Formula One race, did you imagine then that the following year, before a year was out, that you would have won the Indy 500?
I was certainly hoping. I knew, when you join an organization like Andretti Green Racing, I mean, they produce great cars for us, and there's always a chance. And the biggest thing for me was to make sure that while having the chance to possibly win is to capitalize on that. And this is, since the start of the year, I've said this is the race I was determined to win. So there was huge emotion for me when I crossed the yard of bricks with the checkered flags waving. It was very, very special.
Boy, I bet it was too. And of course, as you say, you've got to capitalize on it. And one of the first things I want you to do is to book us again at that restaurant, because last year you were pretty successful. And on Friday and Saturday, it's very difficult when the Formula One weekend. So that's your first task of the year. Now, you came up from 16th to win this race today. Pretty much buried in the field. You hadn't gone very fast all through practice and qualifying. And at one stage, you and old Sam Hornish went through 3 and 4 side by side. Talk us through that little number.
Well, I think that just goes to show you how competitive this IndyCar series is getting right now. I mean, yeah, Sam and I did run side by side for much longer than I would have liked, particularly, we were probably doing about 220 mile an hour through turn 3 and turn 4 at that point. But he's a good guy to race. I mean, he's very clean, leaves you just enough room, probably no more than he needs to. There was probably maybe an inch at the most between us. But it was a difficult race. It was very, very difficult to get to the front. There was a lot of different cars that were competitive. It wasn't the same cars that you'd expect. I think Newman Haas did a very good job for their kind of one race a year that they do within the series. But it was a very, very satisfying race for me, but difficult at that.
Difficult today, difficult all month. You were pretty frustrated after qualifying and kind of up and down in terms of your preparation for the race. That's why you were back there and having to race your way to the front all day. Give us kind of an overview of the month and how it went for you and how you got from not so good to the best guy there.
Yeah, I mean, good question. It opened perfectly. We were fastest on opening day. Unfortunately, the closing chapter was very good also. But in between, there was days again where we were quickest. But then there was the following day where we'd just been quickest. We would have the same setup, and we wouldn't be able to get anywhere near the time. So it seemed that the weather conditions were very temperamental with certainly our setup, and it made just for difficult planning for the race. I knew I had a very good car in traffic, and as you guys know, that's important around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But I was very concerned about my overall speed on my own. But it turned out that had improved a lot today and certainly stayed as quick as we had been when we felt we were at our best during the month. And I was actually able to break away and maintain the gap that last few laps. So, it was definitely probably, well, I say definitely and probably, it was the most tough month I've ever had of my life. There's no doubt about that. But some of those tough moments were probably a big help to me winning this race.
Dan, one of the things that surprised me today was, like when you were going side by side with Hornish, you had some lap traffic in front of you. I say lapped, it was another competitive car that was going almost as fast as you guys were. You were gradually overhauling it. I was surprised at how close you guys were racing today in each other's draft, slipstream, whatever. You all seem to have pretty good grip, even when you were right behind people.
Yeah, that's what amazed me actually. And when Sam and I ran through 3 and 4 together, there was a car just in front of me, and I didn't want to understeer up into him. But it was just the fact that a lot of people really, really worked on their race setup early on in the month, and you could see that it paid off for everybody because we were able to run very, very close. But in fairness to the Speedway, I mean, they had this place repaved, and it gave a very good grip, and it was. It was a consistent amount of grip on both the inside lane and I'm gonna sound American for a little bit, on the high groove too. So it worked out for a very entertaining race for everybody involved.
We'll take a break on that note. We'll come back to find out if he actually did spike the milk. We'll take your phone calls for Dan Wheldon. Give us a call, 866-WTUNNEL. He's on top of the world tonight. He can get a dinner reservation anywhere. We're back with Indy 500 winner Dan Wheldon. Dan, we didn't actually see you spike the milk on the ABC interview. In the commercial world of motorsports, there may have been issues with that. Did you actually get a sip of Jim Beam and milk?
I didn't do them exactly together, but I certainly drank both very close to one another.
Close enough. Let's get the viewers involved here. On line 3, I have Carl in Somerset, Kentucky. Let's see if we can make contact with Carl and let him talk to Dan Wheldon. Carl, you're on with the Indy 500 winner. Go ahead. You there, Carl? Hello, Carl. Are you there?
Yes, hi, Dave.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to call and congratulate Dan and say hi to you and David. I really enjoy your show and really enjoy David's broadcast on the Formula One coverage.
Hurry up. We got to talk to Dan here.
Okay, I just wanted to ask Dan, being a native of Great Britain, do you feel you have more incentive to come over and maybe win the Indy 500 and, prove your mettle as a driver?
How about feeling about winning America's big race, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I was fortunate in my career. I came over here in 1999 and was able to kind of move up the ladder slowly, because I think the ovals certainly require a different technique and are very taxing, particularly Indianapolis. I mean, this is, I think, the hardest oval to drive around in the world and probably the hardest racetrack to drive around in the world. So it was, I've been in good situations with good teams, and that's kind of sped up my learning curve no end. But I have to, I've got to plug my boys, Franchitti, Kanaan, and Herta. They're a big part of why I'm sitting here right now, and they've helped me develop as an oval driver. So thanks, boys.
Dan, you and Jenson Button really came up together in British racing. In fact, in go-karts, you raced at Shennington near Banbury quite a bit in your go-kart, I believe, in the old days. Actually, my godson used to be there too, Charlie Postings. But do you regret at all not doing doing Formula One at all? I mean, both you and Jenson driving Honda-powered products, but I guess after today you're pretty happy where you are.
No, and I always have been. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't happy. That's part of my personality. I'm certainly very happy doing what I'm doing right now and enjoying every minute of it. How could you not, having just won the race that I've won? But, with the team environment that we're involved in, it does make for a fun time. I certainly wouldn't want to be racing where you're constantly fighting with your teammates, which seems to be the case in Europe. But actually, I think Jenson's just left me a message on my cell phone, so that was nice of him.
I bet he has. He didn't have a very good day today. And, of course, you must be now leading the British Racing Drivers Club Gold Star points.
No, I might just be, actually.
I think you must be, yeah.
I've got to be up there. So, no, the British Racing Drivers Club is something that I'm proud to be part of also. So, hopefully... I can move up in the food chain a little now.
On that note, we will extend our congratulations to you again, Dan. A job well done. I know you've got some other people in the line to talk to you there. Thanks for taking time. Keep coming back to WindTunnel till you get this championship won, all right?
Thank you very much, and it's good to speak to you, Dave, and David. Appreciate it.
Dan Wheldon, ladies and gentlemen, winning the Indy 500, and we're going to take a break at this point. We'll come back and see what's coming up on the other side of the television show. Try to get your calls. What did you think of the 500 today? A little later, we'll get Robin Miller in here, too, live from the Brickyard, get his take on the big race. And have you ever wondered who is the biggest sissy on the Super Dirt Modified Tour? Well, Sarah Jane Hunt, our resident expert, went looking for dirt. And she will report shortly. Stay tuned. In a row. Let's go back to the subject of the Indy 500, and in this case, the Indy 500's effect on the Champ Car world, among other things. Robin Miller has been on the traditional month of May beat and joins us now live from Indy. Robin, welcome back to the show.
Hello, boys.
Hello, Robin.
You know David Hobbs, I believe, and David Hobbs is on station.
Yeah, he's tells stories. most of his stories make sense, and half of them are true.
I have a question, Robin. Was it my imagination, or did some fairly significant stuff, some fairly big stories sort of get lost today in all of this breathless attention about Danica Patrick?
Well, I think so, Dave. I mean, Dan Wheldon's victory, here's a guy that after qualifying, I think he screamed at his crew, and no one was really talking about him, even though he's won three of the four races this year. But he was kind of like Rick Mears today. He just kind of plodded along and stayed close the first half of the race, and then got faster and stronger, kept adjusting his car. Vitor Meira, who's kind of been overshadowed by Danica, Kenny Brack, and Buddy Rice for the last couple years, did a nice job, finished second. Brian Herta was steady. But Buddy Lazier, to me, was one of the best stories of the month, because here he is. He piles his car on Friday's carburation test. They rebuild it. And this guy goes out today. He hadn't been in a race car in 2 years and is running in the top 5 all day. He's in 3 different incidents, has to change his front wing and go borrow Thomas Engie, his teammate, and use both of those. So he goes through 3 front wings and still ends up finishing 5th. And I think, he was very complimentary to the team afterwards. But I tell you what, he might have won an audition with Carl Haas to take Bruno's place this week at Milwaukee.
Well, let's elaborate on Bruno, because we didn't hear very much about the actual consequence of any of the crashes today. Bruno's hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be out at least 2 months, Dave, because, I mean, this was brutal. I mean, no, it tore the whole foot box out. There was one pedal left hanging by a thread. I went and looked at the car afterwards. And Terry Trammell's going to operate on Bruno tomorrow, but he's hurting turkey, knocked him out, broken back. I mean, I'd say 2 months would probably be the minimum he's going to be out. The guy's leading the point championship, trying to get rid of that bridesmaid tag, so it's a sad day for him. He's running 5th when he crashes. And, Anthony Foyt, a lot of people were down on him. He's 4 laps behind. I think his spotter maybe didn't let him know he was there, but, it's not all. I mean, that car's a piece of, they don't have an engineer. They got a Toyota engine. He doesn't have a lot of experience. It's a bad combination.
Yeah, and we saw the consequence of it today. You've been predicting all along that Honda would dominate, and they did, so I guess that's no surprise. It would have been fun to see, with all due respect to Danica, it would have been fun to see who finished today. Old Tomas getting punted out of the race was very unfortunate.
Right, and it would have been fun to see Sam Hornish stick around, because he led the most laps today, 77 laps, and his Toyota... I know this is hard to imagine, but believe it or not, Roger Penske's Toyotas are actually probably a little faster than the rest of these guys. I mean, that's a shock.
Yeah.
You've
been
what did you think of that accident when he passed? It was Bourdais when he went by Bourdais. I mean, Bourdais was pretty low down. I mean, he had his wheels below the white line, and obviously started to move up on the exit of the corner. But of course, you're just going to do that.
Yeah, and David, hell, when you get into marbles, it's all gone. And Sam's pretty cool. He's like, well, I tried to get out of the way, and Bourdais pushed up into me, and once I got to the marbles, she's all over. But I wanted to ask David something with all the jazz here about Danica. He raced in Europe a long time. Layla Lombardi tried to run Formula One. Not a lot of success. We had Desiree Wilson over there. And I've been watching women over here. I think Danica's the very first one that's really the real deal.
Layla Lombardi was pretty good. She was actually pretty quick. She raced in Formula 5000 a lot, and she was very quick in Formula 5000. Of course, going to Formula 1 is always such a lottery, because especially back then, you never knew what sort of car you were going to get. Could have been a real piece of junk, just like Tony Foyt's today. But I thought Layla Lombardi was pretty good. But I thought Danica Patrick today was absolutely outstanding. I mean, she passed people. She made some great restarts. And, of course, she had the other ingredient that a top racing driver needs, and that is she's got a bit of luck on her side, because at that restart when she spun and took out Schechter and whoever it was, because the other broadcast network didn't tell us anything about anything interesting really that happened all day. But she was very lucky to get away with that with just the nose snipped off.
Well, you're so right, because when Thomas Engie hit her, I thought it had to break her suspension. But I got to tell you, David, always bad coverage. 3 letters, always bad coverage. It was the worst I've ever seen today, and that says a lot. And I want Paul Page back. That's how nuts I am.
You've got to be hurting bad.
Isn't that a problem for Danica? I mean, this has been my problem with the Danica story all along, is the extent of the hype. People now are angry at her because she stole the telecast. That wasn't her fault. I mean, they couldn't talk about anything else but Danica. She's out there turning in a good, solid rookie performance, and you'd have thought that she invented the wheel.
Well, and you're right, it's not her fault, and of course there's a lot of animosity and jealousy, but guess what? If she won that race, Sports Illustrated was going to put her on the cover They already had their photographers here. Tomorrow morning, she's going to be on the Today Show, Good Morning America, CBS, and CNN.
Instead of the winner, and that's a problem.
That's right. But it's not a problem because the noise here today, Dave, when she passed Wheldon with 10 laps to go, was like Gordon Johncock and Rick Mears side by side in '82 on the white flag. You couldn't hear the engines. It was so loud. She's the best thing to happen to open wheel racing in 25 years, probably. And a lot of guys don't want to hear that. I'm the Jim Hurtubise, Don Branson era guy. I can't imagine I'd ever say
You're
that.
the guy who said it was the worst thing they ever did when they let women in the pits. We need a commercial break at this point. Shut up, Miller. We're going to come back on the other side, and you'll have more time. Robin Miller, live from Indianapolis. Continue. We're back talking with Robin Miller live up in Indianapolis. Robin, we touched on the fact, but we didn't follow through on it. I mean, the Indy 500, the big IRL race, has a huge impact on the Champ Car World Series, which continues next week at Milwaukee. Junqueira leading the points. Who's going to be in that car?
Well, you know, I mean, I think Carl always likes Christian Fittipaldi, but he's been out of a car. He's not hungry. Why not put Buddy Lazier in it? Carl Haas tried to hire Buddy Lazier in 1997, Dave, after Christian Fittipaldi got hurt at Australia. He tried to hire him to run Milwaukee and St. Louis. Remember, St. Louis was in May that year, and it would have been Buddy's first chance to have a good ride in kart because he always drove those old toilets in the early 90s. And Ron Himmelgarn wouldn't let Buddy loose to go run these two races. So I think he's a natural guy. He's hungry. He had a lot to prove here today, and he did a hell of a job.
I realize you probably don't have firsthand information with which to answer this, but I suspect you can do it based on previous conversations. Paul Newman said he would go back to Indianapolis over his dead body. Now his championship point leader has been punted out of contention by the grandson of A.J. Foyt. How do you think Paul feels right now about what happened today?
He said on David Letterman the other night he wouldn't be coming to Indy because he had a problem with the management, and now he's probably got a problem with the four-time winners team, I would imagine. And the fact is that Bruno's leading the points. He's trying to get rid of that bridesmaid thing, and he ends up in Methodist Hospital, and he's probably going to be out for a couple months. So, a bad deal. What's the
Chevy story? Buzz about them not leaving. Is that just wishful thinking?
Well, they had an announcement. You know, they were done at the end of the year, and I was talking to Eddie Cheever and Chip Ganassi this weekend, and they're like, "Hey, General Motors didn't leave, and they're going to stick around." Well, there's been no announcement, so I'm sure Cheever's going to try and get back on Chevrolet's good side because he doesn't want this Toyota brick that his guys have been dragging around for the last couple months. I mean,
Toyota brick?
Well, I couldn't think of something any nicer to say, David.
Say, old chap.
I know, say, old chap. But I wanted to ask David something. When you come here for the first time, you had a load of experience in Europe, and it's a daunting place, and I think you can't overlook the fact, yeah, she gets a lot of hype, but I thought she did such a good job of handling all the pressure that's been heaped on her. She's the IRL's whole story, and this is her 5th race, and she runs in the top 5 at Indy.
Well, I agree. She did do an incredible job. She was probably overhyped just a little bit, but she did really...
just a little bit?
Just a little bit. But she did do an incredible job. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And, of course, you said earlier on, Robin, that, the people were watching the race because of Danica, because of all that hype, 3 front pages on USA Today on Friday. And the fact is, with single-seater racing, open-wheel racing, whatever you want to call it, and road racing in such parlous state in this country, because they keep shooting themselves in the foot with a machine gun, all of them, keep on doing it. I don't care why they watch it. Why do you think Paul Newman and David Letterman own cars? They owned cars so that people come to see their cars and maybe see them. And Paul Newman was always a big attraction when he drove an SCCA Trans Am. He was a very, very good driver, but really people came to see Paul Newman. Exactly. They didn't come to see him race. And if they come to see Danica race, they get racing like they got today anyway, which was terrific. Hey, who cares? As long as they come, let's get them in there.
I suppose. Buy that, Robin?
Yeah, and that's exactly. I agree 100%. That's what you've got to convince these guys. I understand that their feelings are hurt that nobody talks about them, but you know what? If you get a whole bunch more, if you get more than 8,300 people at Phoenix and it gets back to 50,000 like it was in '95, then guess what? She's worth whatever publicity they give her. And I think the other thing that you got to remember here is, before we forget it, this looked like Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti were going to finish 1-2 in whatever order, and by the end of the day, they were kind of faded.
We never heard a diddly squat about them on the network.
We're just like everybody else. We've spent the entire segment talking about Danica instead of the guy who won the race. Miller, you make me crazy. Get out of here. Go away. I'm done with you. Your month of May is over. You did pretty good. We appreciate it.
I'll see you down at the Formula One race, hopefully.
All
Weldon.
right, nice talking to you, clowns. See ya.
Bye.
We're as bad as USA today.
Clouds coming from him. That's good, isn't it?
All right, we're going to be back to talk drag racing next. Pro Stock star Dave Conley is going to join us right after the break. On the phone, we're going to find out if he can keep his team going here, at least through the next couple of weeks. We move on, a bit of a change of subject here.